The Power Moms Network, empowering moms to lift the world.
Welcome. I'm Riley Karsh.
I'm Tova Kopan.
We are thrilled to bring you the We Go Boldly podcast.
Let's talk big burning questions, life changes, and maybe a bit of personal business.
Let's be bold and brave together. Are you ready?
I am. Here comes the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Go Boldly, the podcast, where we are thrilled to be a part of the Power Moms Network. At Power Moms Network, we are empowering moms and creating a community of mothers mentoring other moms to greatness. All of that being said, we love Power Moms Network, and we would encourage all of you listeners out there to check out what they have going on. It's a great place to learn more, to get united with other moms, and just get some support and all the good things in your life that you, as a mom, if you are a mom, that you may be needing. So, and even if you're not a mom, check it out because support mothers. So all of that leads me into our topic of the day. And as you know, in this sort of mini season 10 and a half, whatever we're calling it this year, we're talking about words, and we're talking about how words can help us find the joy in life, encourage us to be more full of joy, be more open to joy, more receptive to happiness and all of those sort of, lovely ideas. So today we are talking all about fun. And I have a lot of thoughts on fun, but before we get into the topic, let me welcome Tova to the show. She is my fantastic co-host here at We Go Boldly. How are you today, Tova? What's new?
I am good. This has been a wild year for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have done to say the least, wild is a weird word to use in a description of this year. But I say that because we're recording in advance in preparation for, it seems like we're always recording in advance in preparation for a surgery.
Yeah.
And we're doing that again. And so I feel like, before we hopped on, I was reading some funny tweets or whatever about like this week has been a year. Like the news cycle is just bananas. And I'm like, I don't even know what the world is going to look like when this comes out.
Yeah, things are changing so rapidly and like dramatically.
So I'm like, what is this like? Are we, is it a Back to the Future situation? Like, I don't know what's happening. But I will say we, back in the land of when we recorded this, have been dealing with a heat wave.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been hot, and that heat wave. And just last night we had a thunderstorm.
Yep.
That seems to have taken some of the heat off. Which
it's going to be 86 today instead of 99.
Yeah, I think the high in my area is 88, and it is. I mean, to put it like, so my kids today, I had the option to walk to the pool, and it is currently only it's only 78 right now, and they're like, it's too cold to go to the pool. The pool water is probably still around 87 right now, and they're like, it's gonna be too cold to go to the pool today.
Crazy.
It's been so hot.
It was so hot this last weekend that I planned a family fun trip to an underground cave. Legitimately, that's actually what we did. It was actually quite fun. I like those kinds of things. I think they're fascinating, but it was 50 degrees in the cave. And I was like, can I just stay here until next week? Is that acceptable? Like, do you take reservations? How does this work? And they were just like, okay, crazy old lady, what are you talking about? But I would have stayed there. It's been so friggin' hot. I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's been, well, yesterday I was bopping in and out of law firms, making some deliveries, and people kept being like, how are you doing? It's so hot out there. But I had my big Dunkin' iced coffee, and I was just going in and out of the air. And I said to the woman, finally, I was like, who asked me, I was like, I think summer must have broken my brain because I haven't really noticed the heat. And it was 97 degrees out.
Yeah.
Like, I think it
No,
was
thank
just
you.
like, I was like, I don't know. I was
Your
like, I have
body
my
just
iced
shut down.
coffee. Like, I'm just blocking it out. Like,
Yeah.
yes, at the end of the day, did I have a headache? Probably from dehydration and heat. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right.
But in the middle of it, I was like, I don't
You're like, oh,
know.
that's fine.
Um,
Let's talk about fun. I think what I'm thinking right now is I remember as a kid being so excited for summer, not just because there was no school, but like I loved the heat. I loved being outside in the summer. I loved all of that. Like it was fun. Like I had so much fun. And now it's the opposite. I'm like, can I move to Canada? What are the entry requirements? Like I don't find summer to be super fun. Which is not really true. Like I love vacations. I like having my kids around more. Like all those things are really fun. But like the weather specifically, I do not enjoy.
well, listen, the summer of now and the summer of our childhood is not the same summer.
No, it's 10 degrees hotter. I mean,
Yeah.
But climate change is a lie.
Yeah. What I will say interesting, and I do want to look at definitions because I found these definitions to be really interesting.
Mm,
But I find that I have a healthier relationship with the word fun now than I did as a kid.
interesting.
Yeah. So this is definitely one of those scenarios where like society's definition, I don't know. There
I
was a lot of weight that I put on the word fun.
I,
Um,
I think this is going to be an adventure situation. I found when I was thinking about this episode, I mean, you did the outline or whatever for it, but like I've thought about it. And when I was thinking about it, I think my personal definition of fun has changed over time. But obviously, everyone's has like whatever. Maybe not everyone. My husband still really enjoys Lego, so like that's still fun to him 40 years later. Um, but I think my willingness to experience fun has changed over
yeah.
time, which I think is an interesting factor and I want to talk about. And my understanding that fun is subjective and it's okay that it's subjective um, has also changed over time. So I think those are interesting factors to consider.
Yeah, I think also, and we promise we'll get to the definition, but I really I saw fun as something that was like not something that you could have at the same time as having other things. Like you
Mm,
couldn't be serious and fun. You couldn't be mature and fun. I don't know. I had a lot of rules, and fun didn't fit into a lot of those rules.
yeah.
And that has evolved as an adult. So let's jump into definitions, and I think then we'll get into this interesting conversation. Hopefully, it won't leave me with some sort of, midlife crisis like the word adventure did. um, so interestingly enough, fun has a lot of different ways to describe it, but as an adjective, fun is providing entertainment, amusement, or enjoyment. You can be full of fun or pleasant. As a noun, it is something that provides amusement or enjoyment, a mood for finding or making amusement. But also, and I threw this in there, it can be derisive, jest, or sport or ridicule, violent or excited activity or argument, which I
That
thought
one,
was really
like,
interesting.
yeah, I don't get that one. I'll be honest with you. That doesn't sound fun. That is I
um,
the derisive jest, right? Like I get that, right? You're making fun, you're having fun, teasing,
yeah.
whatever. But the violent or excited activity or argument, I don't understand that one.
Yeah, I don't know. But I did think it was interesting that it did take a negative turn.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I don't know that we're thinking about it that way, but I did also, highlight, as you were saying, like people have very different interpretations of what they consider to be fun.
Yeah.
I think as kids, there's an expectation that a lot of the same things should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or as with most kids, they think that whatever they think is fun is what everybody else will think is fun.
Yes.
As soon
Yeah.
as, as an adult, as soon as you have two children, you realize that your two children are completely different
Right.
and will have different definitions of everything. Um, but I think when you're a kid, you'll be like, well, this is fun, and anybody else's definition of fun is wrong.
Yeah, well, because I mean, obviously, as a child, your thinking is far more rigid. Like that's just developmentally what happens. Um, but even beyond that, like your family systems determine so much about what is fun, like what you think is fun, but also what is allowed to be fun, what is like acceptable as fun. And I think that that carries forward for a lot of us. So I actually think this is a much deeper conversation than I realized when we first started talking about it, because we're trying to have, to be honest with you, we were trying to have a slightly lighter summer, and not like get too deep because life has been hard and we wanted a little bit of a break. And yet here we are every week talking about these words and being like, well, that's formational now, isn't it? So I think like in my family, I look back and think about what was considered fun, and it was more serious. Like we're not, and it wasn't like sports. Like my parents are not athletic people. They didn't watch sports. Neither of them like they worked out, but they never really like they weren't on like baseball teams or soccer teams or things like that. My brother and I, on the other hand, were very athletic and played soccer year round for, I don't know, over a decade. And so um, it was an interesting environment because the thoughts of what is fun didn't necessarily overlap a lot. And so figuring out how to compromise on fun, how to like
Mm-hmm.
accept other people's ideas of fun. All of that stuff took time, and it was not as easy as it maybe could have been, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and we've heard stories like in our women's circle of women saying, what they wanted to do for fun, and then their kids being like, "You don't have any fun."
Right.
And then being like, no, I just had a great fun weekend. It's just that my definition of fun and your definition of fun are not in alignment. And I think it is I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have fun in a certain way. Just like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do everything.
Yeah.
Like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to come up with a really fun season. And then we ended up
And here
doing
we
these,
are.
like, here we are doing these deep dives into these fun words about bringing joy into our lives, and then realize that they were going to still be in depth
Yeah.
conversations. But I think that, like, what ends up happening is the way to take fun out of something fun is to judge yourself for having
Yeah.
fun doing it,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're like, I have fun by curling up with a good book. But if I spend all my time doing it, thinking I should be doing something else, I should be having fun by
Yeah.
doing something else, then suddenly you're taking away that fun. And it's been something that has been very challenging, having a child entering the teenage world, preteen world, who was already kind of a rule bound kiddo who, wants society to follow rules that he, because it's easier for him.
Yep.
And then now he's like, but this isn't how things should be. And I'm like, but they could be any way they want to be. Like they can just do whatever. And he's like, but this is how they should be. And I'm like,
Right.
oof. But I think that, one great way to ruin your fun is to make rules saying I'm too old to do this, or
Yeah.
I should be doing something else, or I shouldn't be have fun doing this, or whatever rule you want to put on it. It is a great way to ruin your fun.
Yeah. And I think on the flip side of that, like forcing yourself to think something is fun when
Yes.
you don't find it fun really ruins the whole experience for both yourself and other people. Like an example, my husband loves The Simpsons. My kids love The Simpsons. Maybe it's inappropriate. You can all judge me, whatever. Um, they all love it. I don't, those things don't make me laugh. I don't know why. They never have. Like it's not like I'm trying to be like Miss Cool, I'm so above it. I just don't find it funny. I
Right.
find other things funny, and I am funny, and like I enjoy those things and they are fun for me. It's not fun for me to watch The Simpsons. Occasionally it is because my son's laugh is like hilarious and it makes me laugh. So and not like I'm not picking on him. Like it's just one of those infectious laughs. My brother has the same laugh. And I remember watching The Muppets with him, which I do find funny as a side note. And but what was more fun about watching it with him is that he would laugh so hysterically that I would then laugh because it was just infectious. But I digress. So the point I'm trying to make is there are lots of things in life that I don't find fun and other people do. And there is nothing wrong with that. Like that's unless it's something
Yeah.
like really mean-spirited and hurtful to other people, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like I don't find it fun. Cool. You do? Okay. Do it more.
Well, but like you said, if you sat there during The Simpsons the whole time they were watching it and was like,
Yeah, if I was being judgy, like a
yeah,
judgy face.
yeah, that would ruin both. It would ruin your time, right? Like,
Yeah.
because you could be doing something else that was fun for you,
Right.
and you would also ruin their fun.
Yeah, and I'm not here to ruin anyone's fun. I like wish I found it funny. I just don't. Like I love watching things that make me laugh. Um, which is not to say that it never makes me laugh. Like I don't like these all or nothing categories. Of course sometimes it's funny, but like the
Yeah.
vast majority of the time I'm like, okay, that's
But
cool.
I also think it's an interesting, point. Like, fun is different across cultures.
Hmm.
Like, whether, my first thought was things like, oh God, I was picturing like those competitions. I don't know. I was picturing like Scotland or Ireland or something where they're like moving big tree trunks.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which I do think would be fun, but also like comedy. Comedy is very different from culture to culture.
Absolutely.
And that is a great example. Like I always give credit to comedians who travel to other countries and try to be funny in other countries, because I assume that especially Americans, they're just like entertaining expats, because
Right.
like
Otherwise.
I don't know how you do it, because comedy is so different in other countries.
Yeah, it's a very culturally influenced thing.
Yeah, but
Yes.
also just something that you might do for fun would be very different.
Hmm.
I was just, so I probably have mentioned 900 times, but maybe not. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if I mention it to Riley just in our conversations or on the show, but I am listening to a Buffy rewatch podcast, and I'm rewatching it. And they were commenting on how Giles, the Slayer watcher, whatever, gets so excited when he like has a new like book to translate or something, and
Hmm.
he like to him that is genuinely fun, and he gets very excited, and it's fun to watch him. Like that was what they were talking about on the podcast, was how exciting, how much fun it is to watch him get excited about doing that.
Yeah.
And so I think it is, one of the keys to finding fun in your own life is to recognize that what you find to be fun, doesn't really have to do with anybody else. Like, and what other people have, to be fun, but it is also fun to watch other people having fun. Like you said, like you might enjoy being in the same room as your family watching The Simpsons if you were reading a book.
Right, which is just as a side note, exactly what happens.
Yeah.
They get annoyed because I'm sitting there reading, not watching the show. But I'm like, I'm having a great time. And occasionally I will laugh because you all are laughing so much.
Right. And you get to enjoy hearing your family laugh,
Yeah,
which is fun for you.
absolutely.
So I think the thing that can ruin fun, is judgment.
Hmm. And
That
shame
can,
and all
and
those
shame.
those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
All of those, not all of that nonsense. I would be interested to know, we should take a quick break. Otherwise
Yeah.
we're going to forget to take a break, but I would be interested to know like how your definition of fun has changed from over, when you were a kid to now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, speaking of judgment, mine has changed drastically.
Mhm.
But let's take a quick break and then we will be right back.
Well, hey there, dream chaser. Are you ready to make the next 12 months of your life unforgettable? Introducing the Year of You, a groundbreaking new goal system group that's about to redefine the way we approach personal growth. Join us with a community of like-minded individuals committed to unlocking their full potential. With expert guidance, personalized strategies, kind-hearted accountability, and a supportive network, the Year of You is more than just a goal-setting group. It's a whole movement. Don't just dream about it, achieve it. Click in the link in our show notes, or go ahead and visit us at goboldlyinitiative.com/year of you to learn more today. Let's embark on a transformative journey together towards becoming the best versions we can be. The Year of You, where your goals become reality.
Okay, so welcome back. As we were taking a break, I was saying I would want to know, like, what was your definition of fun as a kid or as a teenager, and how has that evolved as you've gotten older?
When I was little, my definition of fun, and I don't think I ever consciously thought about this, but it was really just like doing anything creative, right? Like anything creative was fun for me. I didn't have a ton of close friends. I had a few close friends. And so playing and things like that were fun. But I loved being creative. I loved art. I loved writing. I loved reading. I am like humanities person through and through. And I loved it. And then as I got older, like fun sort of, and I think everyone goes through this where your fun is sort of like about fitting in, right? And like what are the other people saying is fun? And is this fun to them? Is it fun to me? And like I went through that phase for sure. And I went through a phase in high school where fun was like, what can I get away with? Like, what can I do that I'm not supposed to do and not get caught doing? And that was fun. But I was also like clinically depressed in my teenage years. And like, so not much was fun, let's be honest. And then as I got older, I think fun has now become like through the last couple of decades, which, whoa, fun has become far more about like trying new things, meeting new people, having different experiences, being comfortable by myself, like comfortable on my own, those kinds of things, where it's not about anyone else, where it's just about like, what am I finding joy in? And that is the thing that's fun. So like sometimes it's reading, right? Sometimes it's traveling to another country that I've never been to and trying new foods, like, and meeting new people and that kind of stuff. I think fun for me has always been associated with taking risks. Which is funny because I'm like, I know that I am like both risk averse and risk what's the opposite of that? Like I like risks.
Seeker.
It's a risk seeker, but it, context really matters. So I think as I've gotten older, it's really been about like new and change and adaptations and what can I do that will allow me to feel excited about like the world around me. But just definitionally, fun is far more me centered and far less outward, right? Like it's far more about what I want, what I think, what I like, and far less about what anyone else thinks, like whether it's cultural or like people around me. And that's just a part of growing up too, like gaining that confidence. I think a lot of people, have that kind of experience.
Well, I think, and I want to highlight something you said, because we're not going to get into, we are making these a little lighter, like we're not getting into the deep research and science of it all, but part of, there is a lot of science that talks about the mental health benefits of doing fun things and the benefits to stress relief and your overall well-being. And one of the benefits is that it does send dopamine to your body. And as you said, being clinically depressed, there's a big issue with dopamine not getting sent out into your body.
Yeah.
And so if you are listening to this and you're like, I don't find anything to be fun, that is a good maybe flag that you should maybe either talk to your medical doctor or a professional or go to a therapist and start a conversation and just say like, yeah, like nothing seems to be wrong. I'm just like maybe something is wrong, but like maybe you're just like, I'm not finding joy or fun in anything, because that could be a flag to you that like something is maybe not working, medically speaking.
Right.
And I know we talked about not that long ago about that like mind body connection and how it's a weird way to describe something that is actually in your body. But we still seem to like to think of it that way. So we're going to just keep talking about it that way. Yeah, I think like I have been thinking about this, and I think about being a kiddo, and like I don't remember what I thought was fun. Um, but I do, like, recently I was going through, as you might recall, because I think I sent you a bunch of pictures of things as I was like going through old boxes. But I found like I would create classrooms with like all my stuffed animals and my dolls, and I would like have lesson plans for all of them, and I would like create these whole and worlds. And I had a bunch of Barbies, and I had like a Luke Perry doll. I maybe had one or two Ken dolls. I don't know. There was like one Luke Perry. Most of the men were like away, and it was like basically a female, like a pro women commune with like Dylan McKay is essentially what was going on. Which
you made me choke on myself, so that's fantastic. Where is that? Can we go?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad. I mean, Shannon Doherty just punched her ticket.
Right?
Somebody's like, like, it's somewhere. It's somewhere. It had a Barbie house. I had a lot of shoe boxes that I turned into houses, and like I would turn my whole living room into this like world. Yeah, a lot of female empowerment, and like Dylan McKay. So it's not a bad place.
No.
A lot of sober living. So
I am inappropriately laughing today. I'm just telling everyone.
90210 played a big role like from fourth grade on. So
no, for sure.
But yeah, so I was like, what was fun? But then I also started thinking about like all these songs and sayings are like, since we picked the word fun, like what I kept thinking is like, girls just want to have fun. But then like, and I liked that song, but I always like, all the girls in that movie are blondes because blondes have more fun.
Obviously.
But then blondes, there was like this huge, massive stereotype about blondes being dumb.
Right.
So if you carry it out, it's like, so brunettes are smart, but they're not fun.
They're too serious.
They're too serious. So if you want to be smart and serious, you can't be fun. Like somehow, like we know that I am not great with not turning these like cliches that are not supposed to be life lessons into life lessons. Like, I mean, marriage is hard. It's not supposed to be that kind of hard, Tova.
Right.
Like we know that like I'm not, too hard, back away. Like I'm not great at being like, okay, wait. Okay. So blondes have more fun. Blondes are dumb. By the way, I know blondes are not dumb, but that was like the joke. Like obviously that's a horrible joke, and they should stop me. And I think they're not making those jokes like they used to be.
No,
although so
I'm sure they still do, but it's nothing is like the 90s was. I mean, let's be honest.
God, they're so mean. It was so mean. And so, but so my connection was like, oh, I'm a brunette, so I'm smart and serious, and I can't have fun. Also, not to bring back to 90210, which was formative, but like Kelly was fun. Brenda was serious.
Yeah, she was serious. Like, she was the mean girl. She was the B word. She was intense. She was
also, she wasn't mean.
No.
And she wasn't the B word.
No.
She just was serious. She took things seriously. She had big emotions.
And she also didn't take any crap. Like,
yeah.
Why is that a problem? She advocated
for herself. Like, but Kelly was blonde and she was fun. And she was always like, why are you just not going with the flow? And so I was like, oh, okay. So if you're fun, you go with the flow. If you want to be president, you don't have fun. Like, I get it. Life lesson. Got it. So, and then even the Beach Boys, who I loved, and for the longest time were like my favorite like band. If you would have asked me as like a little kid, wow. It was like, the East Coast girls are like cool and all, or hip and all, or whatever, but they want the California girls because they're fun. And I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not fun. I have brown hair and I am
Ow.
from the East Coast.
I don't even, there's so much to unpack here, Tova. Oh my God.
This
First of
isn't
all,
hitting me as hard as the adventure though, just because I have come to terms with all of this and I know I am fun and I
Yes.
like to have fun. And now I equate fun with things that bring me joy and things that make me like, and not that everything that brings me joy, I laugh, but like I love to laugh. I know
Yeah.
that I can be in charge of things and serious and smart and laugh. And I want to laugh more. And that's always a goal every single day is to find
Yeah.
laughter and joy. So I have worked through these, but like, holy moly, I just listened to what the nonsense they told us in the 80s and 90s. And I was like, okay, cool. Patriarchy, got it. White supremacy.
I'm gonna just dive right in.
Writing it down.
I'm your girl.
Yep.
I want to talk more about this. We need to take another break. I want to talk when we come back about like allowing ourselves the space for fun in whatever form that takes. And I want to talk about the dopamine a little bit because it really is important. So let's take a quick break and we will be right back, everyone.
Hey, pod friends, it's us again. Looking for a place to collaborate, an opportunity to share your knowledge? Have you been working so hard on a podcast, book, course, product, or retreat? Do you have insights that could light up our podcast? Well, we want to hear from you. We would love to support you in all that you are and do. Join us at Go Boldly Initiative, where we celebrate diverse perspectives and share the wisdom of our incredible community. Whether you're an expert, a hobbyist, or simply love learning, we invite you to reach out with your ideas. Visit our website at goboldlyinitiative.com/podcast guests to pitch the show or shoot us an email at hello@goboldlyinitiative.com to talk all things collaboration, advertising, and affiliation opportunities. Become part of our growing family. Let's make learning an adventure together.
Okay, so welcome back to the show. Before the break, I was talking about wanting to sort of talk about the dopamine hit that one gets when they have fun. But also like let's talk more about this whole like allowing ourselves to have fun, right? Because I think if you grew up in an environment with any sort of trauma, any sort of emotional or physical abuse, any of those things, allowing yourself the room to emote is very hard. And you probably need professional help to accomplish that. I know that I did. Not that I grew up in an abusive household in the way that, you know, a lot of folks have, but like emotions weren't really tolerated. And so it took a lot for me to learn, and I still struggle to emote. And like I've had this conversation with my daughter who cries very easily, and she doesn't understand why I'm always like, that is awesome. Like I don't want you crying, but also like cry, do it. It's cool. Just let it out because it takes a lot for me to be able to cry. Like I have to work for my tears, which seems stupid, but like it's just programming, right? Like it's how you're conditioned and that's how you go. And you like have to beat back that programming. And so I think that it is important to recognize that if you grow up in an environment where fun isn't like allowed, fun isn't prioritized, if you grow up in an environment where your parents are struggling to make ends meet and like it's hard and that's like through no fault of anyone involved, it's just harder. It may be harder for you to acknowledge fun, right? Like I think we need to give ourselves the grace and the space to recognize like what have we been through that has programmed the way in which we look at fun, right? And then start to undo some of that if you can, and not to blame other people or to like find fault or judgment with anyone, including yourself, just to recognize like, hey, this is what I've been through my whole life. These are the experiences I've had. This is why I maybe like am more serious. Maybe I feel more intense. Maybe it's harder for me to let those like happy feelings out. Maybe I don't trust those happy feelings because I know like I worry they won't last. And like, then what? all of those things can come into play. And so starting to recognize all of that will help you get to the point where you're like, I'm just gonna have fun. It's cool. Like I'm gonna go out and have fun, and then maybe I'll be serious afterwards, or maybe I'll be serious and have fun. I don't know.
Well, and I think like laughter and joy are they require such vulnerability,
Yeah.
and they can feel so unsafe. And even just like, oh, the 90s. Oh God. Like, but like you don't know what you look like when you laugh, right? Like you don't know what face you're gonna make when you laugh, like when you really, or like what if you snort? Like even just like, which is not necessarily what you're talking about, but there's all of these layers of vulnerability that are required sometimes to have fun and
Yeah.
to let go and um to be willing to, I don't also like just be okay with having fun with whatever way is fun for you. Like, and as we're sitting here and I'm thinking back to like one of my favorite memories of like my whole life is one of my best friends, who has just agreed to be a guest actually in next season, which we're very excited about. But my dad and stepmom were getting a new kitchen table, and so we didn't have a kitchen table. So we sat on the floor of our kitchen for a weekend and read Much Ado About Nothing. I do not know why. Like, I don't know why that happened. I don't know why that was what I mean, I think we were like binging the movie over and over and over again. And we like played the parts opposite each other. I, of course, played the brunette and she played the funny redhead, of course, because I was the serious brunette,
Oh, I
because
can't.
that's the role that I always played. But whatever. And so, but like, I just remember that being a fun, like it was just fun, but like we were literally sitting on a kitchen floor reading Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But it was peaceful, maybe it was calm. I don't know. I'm guessing we ate ramen noodles because we ate ramen noodles all day, every day, like on the weekends. But like if I were to judge that experience, it wasn't fun. Like what was fun about, like what? But I think that, I think we have to allow ourselves to be open, and also like if you do have, as you said, the trauma or these experiences in the past that has made it harder for you to be open to laughter and fun, to just find those things that you're comfortable with now. Like this can be one of those, like find something in your comfort zone. We're always telling you, and you and I both find one of the things that we find fun is to do things outside of our comfort zone.
Right.
But maybe finding fun, maybe it's something in your comfort zone. Maybe it's coloring. Maybe it's something very calming and peaceful. That
Yeah.
can be fun.
Well, and I think if you haven't had fun in a long time, or if you haven't acknowledged fun in a long time, I would encourage you to start with something comfortable and start with something in your wheelhouse and that will be fun. It's like anything when you're trying to like rebuild a habit or reignite a feeling or whatever, starting with something can kind of give you some momentum to build and to create more. And then like, maybe in a week, 3 months, whatever, a year, you'll try something outside the box that isn't in your comfort zone or whatever, and that will be fun. But it's okay to start with something that like is safe for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that can be like surprisingly fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you do it and you're like, oh, yeah, I did like doing this.
Right.
Or you might have a visceral reaction and be like, oh my God, no, this isn't, I don't like this. I thought I
Yeah.
liked this.
But I hate it.
I think also like, so I know I'm like really picking on the 90s, but A, they deserve it. And
Mm,
B, I think it's important, because if you were around our age, or even not, like I would think any, now that we're moving through the decades, like every decade's a big decade, right?
Yeah.
So like the 90s were big, no matter what decade, no matter how old you were in the 90s, it was a big decade for you. And they were mean and nasty at like every level,
right?
Like from the Supreme Court hearings to the presidents,
Everything.
like just everything. It was a hot mess. But I think about like, let's say you were trying to watch a funny movie during the 90s. It was mean. If you were trying to watch stand up, it was mostly white men being sarcastic and angry and hateful towards women.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that all comedians then were that way, because there was SNL was not exactly hitting its prime in the 90s, but like there was some good stuff. There were definitely good people then, but as a whole, and things do not hold up when you bring them into the now. I remember thinking like, oh man, I can't wait to introduce my kids to Ace Ventura. That holds up, right? And then a friend was like, do you remember the main storyline? And I was like, no, I was just remembering like scenes. And I watched it so many times. And she's like, think about the main storyline. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, that doesn't hold up. Not even a little, not even a little. So, but my point is, there's genuinely funny stuff now. And it is funny at every level. Like there is dry humor, but there's humor that is kind. There are wonderful stand-up comedians that are women, that are Black women, that are Black men. There are white men who are wonderful, amazingly enough. Like that, but they do not build their comedy on sarcasm and anger. Like there are, there is a place in comedy, I think, for everybody now. You might have to look for it, but not really that far, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I just watched two great movies last weekend. One was called Am I Okay? And it is about a woman who kind of realizes that she's gay at 32. And it wasn't like she was dealing with it for a long time. It was more like, oh, like I think I'm gay. Like, and it really was based on Tig Notaro's and her wife, who kind of just was like, her wife kind of just realized she was gay. Like had an aha moment.
Yeah.
But it's a really wonderful comedy. And my point is that like, if you left something 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago in the 90s, as it should have been left, this is maybe a good time to come back around, because there's books to be read that are funny. There's so many wonderful podcasts. Like if you're looking for joy or fun, there are a lot of safe places out there now that just didn't exist before.
Yeah.
That exists now.
Yeah, I think interestingly, Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler are two of the reasons I thought I wasn't fun at that time, because I never found them funny. And like even to this day, people are like, wait, you don't find them funny? And I'm like, no, I never. And I didn't have the awareness of like, oh, this is really inappropriate and mean-spirited. I just didn't find it funny. And I think if I had had that awareness, I would have been like, oh, it's not me. Like, I'm not the problem. But I didn't have that awareness. And so I was like, oh, this isn't fun. And I'm not fun. Everyone else loves these things and is talking about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not laughing. Like, why am I not? Whatever. Anyway, that's a little too much information about me. But
I think it's really important, and it goes back, and it's kind of perfect. It's perfect because it helps us kind of tie the bow on this whole conversation about having judgment when it comes to your own fun and your own funny. And like that's kind of how we started this conversation.
Yeah.
And if you didn't think something was funny or fun in the 90s, it wasn't you.
Yeah, I know that now personally.
And listen, I liked a lot of, not all Adam Sandler movies, but like I thoroughly enjoyed Billy Madison. And then there was that one where he like pretends to be the kid's dad for like a weekend or two. And like, I really liked that movie. There was a lot of movies that I thought were funny in the 90s. Mallrats, Mallrats was phenomenal, but like,
it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good, but that was different. they were good. That was a different, that would actually probably with a few tweaks pass muster today. But that was a different kind of comedy. But like they, it wasn't you, is my point.
Yeah.
And it was also, maybe you were listening to a Beach Boys song and you thought you had to be blonde and from California to be fun. And you actually didn't.
Oh, well, so I will say, and we do need to wrap up, but I will say I never thought I was fun because from the age of like 5 until tomorrow, everyone comments on how serious I am. Like it was on my report cards. It was like calls home to my parents. Like, why is she so serious? Why is she so serious? I don't know. This is just my face, people. Like, it is what it is. Stop commenting on it. I don't know. I take life seriously. I wish I could relax a little. Like, I've worked on it. I'm much better now than I was when I was 7. But you know, just for those people out there who are listening who might be like commenting on other people's seriousness, like lay off, because if you're that serious, you're also stressed out.
I'm just laughing because like I think it's hilarious that you finally take life less seriously now that we're in like the end times.
Right, now that everything's falling. Because, well, I mean, what's the point? I'm like red flags everywhere. I just quit. I quit. Whatever. It's all falling apart.
Not funny.
It's hilarious. Maybe I just knew it was coming. I don't know. Like I was a serious kid. And frankly, like teachers out there, if you're worried enough about it to call home, like maybe do a little more. I don't know.
Like if you're noticing a red flag, then it's not just like, hey, this kid is serious.
Right. Like there were issues.
Like there were things happening that perhaps needed to be more followed up.
Right. Anyway, this whole episode has gone way too far into my personal life. So I'm gonna reel it back because that's not fun. We have some homework.
We do. Yes, because this is coming out maybe around Labor Day-ish.
Okay.
I don't know, but that's what I'm guessing based on time and weeks and stuff. So I'm guessing this is coming out right around Labor Day, maybe before, maybe after, but we've all experienced or will be experiencing Labor Day, which is great. And it is a great time of year to have fun. Whether you are thinking of Labor Day as the end of summer and the beginning of fall, fantastic. Grab that pumpkin spice latte. Or whether you're like, hello, people, we still have 3 more weeks of summer. Why are you rushing it? Fantastic. Grab your pina colada and have some fun. Figure out what is fun for you, whatever it is. No passing judgment. This is a judgment-free fun zone. And so if that means that you need to go play some laser tag, and just as an aside, I know we're wrapping up, but I went to a couple years ago, God, like 5 or 6 years ago, because I was married 6 or 7 years ago. I went to some great 40th birthday parties, and they were at like fun. When was it? A fun zone where we did like arcade games and laser tag. And we were legit playing against birthday parties with 10-year-olds, and we did destroy them. Yes. Thank you. Awesome. And then 1 was, or 2 were at bowling alleys.
Mm-hmm.
And like, then afterwards we went back to like people's houses and like, had like catering and whatever, but they started with like pizza and soda at fun zones, and they were a blast. Like it was, and I, if you know me, which I consider you all to know me, like I could play skee ball until my arm hurts.
I love skee ball.
It is the most fun.
It's so good.
It's so good. In fact, maybe we should have fun and go to that in Asbury Park, that old timey arcade that you just pay for like a half a day. You just pay for the half a day and you can go all day, the whole half day or the whole day. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so my point is find some fun. There's no age limit on fun. But if your fun is like, I want to go to a bookstore and buy a book and then come home and read it with a cup of tea, that sounds awesome. So there is no judgment. Don't judge yourself, but I'm telling you, there's comedy out there for everybody now. There is like something out there to make you laugh. If you like to laugh, I encourage you to find something to make you laugh, even if it's like the driest of humor. Find it. It is fun to laugh. It is good for our bodies. So find something that is fun for you. Do it. Share it with us. tag it with like summer of celebration, or tag us if you're like, it's not summer anymore, Tova, I'm drinking my pumpkin spice latte. Then just tag us at Go Boldly Together and let us know what you picked and what you're doing and how you are having some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be back next week with one last episode of words that bring us joy. And until then, everyone, have some fun, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to We Go Boldly podcast. We know you're busy and we love spending time with you.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know. Head to Apple Podcasts right now to rate and review our show. While you're there, be sure to click that subscribe button.
Want more us time? Follow us on all the socials at Go Boldly Together.
Want even more us time? As in all the coaching pizzazz. Find us at goboldlyinitiative.com for all the info.
We will be back with more excitement, research, and deep thoughts next week.
Until then, keep on being the bold, brave, amazing people we know you already are.
The Power Moms Network, empowering moms to lift the world.